Welcome to Crypto Trend Trader. Thanks for stopping by and taking a look at some of my videos. If you like what you see, please give me a like, follow, subscribe, as I do often share my insights on the markets and technical analysis. I'd like to start off by saying this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just sharing my views and opinions on the market and some of my knowledge over the years of trading, doing technical analysis. Today we're going to dive deep into a topic of distribution. Today we're going to look at the Wyckoff Distribution events and phases. And what we're looking for here essentially is a pattern to start developing, and we're going to try to identify those phases within the pattern in order to make some trades based on what we see here. Now basically what happens is we start off with a long run up. We've come all the way from like 3,000. We're getting into like the $7,000 range. We've already doubled up. People start thinking we may be getting to a topping formation, and then we'll see basically what's the PSY, and what that is, it's the preliminary supply zone, and it's represented after a long and powerful uptrend. You're going to see massive parabolic candles, new highs for the trend, and then we'll start to see a strong increasing volume. And what this volume is representing is there can only be so much volume on these candles if it's only buyers coming into the market. But when you start having sellers come in as well, you're having basically a fight as the price continues to rise and people are selling into it. You see volume spikes coming higher and higher and higher. And then eventually what's going to happen is the volume is going to increase to new highs, price is going to come to new highs, and then we'll see a deeper correction than we've seen throughout the entire trend. And what this represents is basically, we've gotten to a point where people are starting to think this is the top. There's enough people selling off that it's damaging price action, as opposed to before they're just selling into it and often having to rebuy, or price just runs away from them. This is the end of essentially like the parabolic part of this trend. Alright, and then next we're going to see basically a new rally start to form from there, and we're going to retest the highs. We're going to break to a new high, and this is the BCLX, which is the buying climax. And what it's represented by is even stronger, bigger green bars, parabolic price action, highest volume we've seen throughout the trend without a doubt. This is evidence of massive amounts of selling. This is the beginning of distribution, representing the top of a trend. You're going to see massive spike up followed by strong spikes back down, rallies, bounces, and this is the indecision in the market as people are trying to make a good trade. Other people are trying to get out of a position because they're already in a good trade. And then finally you're going to come down to a point and you're going to form the AR, which is the automatic reaction. And what that is, it's a sharp and sudden retracement. We're immediately going to bounce. It's going to be strong, often back to the point of supply is where we're going to bounce to. Once we get that point of supply, we're essentially forming our first support. And from this support, we're going to try to make a run back up top. The BCLX is going to represent now the resistance of the channel. The the AR is going to represent the support, and this is basically going to be our trading range for this pattern. While we sort of figure out, is this reaccumulation and we're going to break to higher prices, or is this distribution and we can expect a stronger correction than we've seen to date. So now from that rally up, from that rally off the automatic reaction, we'll eventually come to a top. There's a little indecision, a little selling off, come back down, find support higher, and then we'll get what's called the up thrust. And essentially, the secondary test first. It's going to essentially go back to the resistance. It's often going to try to get back to the BCLX. The volume is going to be high and consistent. It's going to look like we're going back up. And then what's going to happen is you'll get the correction off that, and then that'll be followed by the up thrust. The up thrust is an extension of the secondary test. This often will take us to a new high. In this case, it did not. But this is going to be followed by immediate weakness. So you see we didn't even get back up to the high, and then we came back down. We came through the AR, got a little bit of a bounce, but then we put in a new low. And when we put in that new low, that's going to now form our second support line on the bottom. This is our lowest low of the trend so far. And then followed by this, again, we're going to see another bounce. And the sign of weakness is represented by like stronger red candles, bigger selling. From this support line now, we're going to start noticing, hang on, this may be a change in trend. We've now put in a lower high, we put in a low, we put in a lower low. people start wondering, is this it? So we'll see some reactions, a little chopping in here, buying and selling, retest of the low in this case, and then we're actually going to form another rally, and this is the UTAD. It's the upthrust after distribution, and this is essentially the last attempt of the rally. We're going to try to break through that resistance. We're going to try to put in a new high. The market still thinks we could go to new highs, a million, whatever it is. You're going to see this powerful volume, powerful price movement, big green candles, very little retracement. This is essentially a fake rally to try to attract new buyers to come in, because if we don't get a strong, powerful rally up, no one's buying, everyone's speculating of lower prices, they're just waiting to put in the lower high. So with a powerful upthrust and often a new high from here, it will attract new buyers, breakout traders, but you can tell by how high it goes the power of the trend. And then after this upthrust, we're going to essentially start drooping back down. We don't see that strong drop, but we do see some distribution taking place, markdown distribution. And what this is essentially the last point of supply at each spot. You're going to see the LPSY. What that is the rally forms, it comes back down to support, and then you see there's clearly demand is exhausted. There's more selling than there is buying, so price drops down, find support. There's more selling than buying, price drops down, find support. You move back up, and then I'm expecting in this case with Bitcoin move anywhere from the 10.7 to we're expecting like an 11.250 range is probably where it's going to top out. It's essentially coming back up to that support. There's a lot of other confluence in that zone as well, and then from there we're going to see a lot of like overlapping candles, indecision in the market as there's buying and selling. You start to see the strength just fading away, and it starts becoming very clear that we're not going to be approaching these highs anymore, and we're just going to be slowly selling off to lower prices. There'll still be trades along the way and bounces from support, but overall we won't be reaching the highs that we've reached already in this trend. The supply is just too great, and the demand is just not there. We need to get to lower prices so we can get higher amount of demand, and then eventually we're going to break down, put in lower low than we have for the entire trend. We'll often get a bounce off that, and then we'll continue to see markdown throughout this time, followed by lower lows, and then eventually an evident break and usually a massive sell-off. And this represents the distribution pattern completing. Alright guys, well this is basically it. We did a deep dive into Wyckoff Distribution, the different events and phases. Hopefully we can go through and kind of identify different points in the future using this information and use it to make better trades or better positions, just to overall perform better in the market. Knowledge is power in all senses, so the more you know, the more you can recognize these patterns. You can recognize, whether it becomes, obviously if it breaks up and we hit new highs, clearly this was not distribution, it was reaccumulation. But in this case, as the trend starts to weaken, if we see a break to the downside, it's very clear that we did in fact see Wyckoff Distribution. Well, there we have it. I hope you got a lot out of it. If you did enjoy this video, please give me a like, sub, follow. Really helps out the channel. We're just getting started. I'm just looking to share my insights on the markets. Cryptocurrency is my primary focus, but I do look at some precious metals and things like that. But overall, we're just basically trying to share our knowledge about technical analysis with people in hopes that we can all become better from it, because it helps me out as well, going through all of this, and it helps me out to recognize different patterns as well. So thanks a lot for tuning in today. I'm Crypto Trend Trader. Look for more videos in the future, and I hope you like what you see.